What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind the scenes in college basketball, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a head coach with a tremendous basketball mind, an excellent talent evaluator, a tremendous teacher, a professional, a great communicator, and more than anything else, a winner. And this is a guy I've been calling a friend. We competed against each other, so we were in the same league when he first started coaching college basketball. I'm in another league. He's back in that league. So you're talking about we've had battles, but we also have been friends off the court. We're running the same circles. And he's a Woodbridge, Virginia native. He played for Coach Witt, a guy that I respect in this business, Will Robinson. So I want to welcome to the show Brion Dunlap. And before I even bring him on, I'm going to talk about his bio a little bit. I don't think people realize how good he was as a player, how good he is as a coach. And I said winner, and I really mean that. He's a 4-year starter at Old Dominion University, where at Old Dominion, 1994 to 1998, as a kid growing up in the 757, big Old Dominion fan, and I talked about it early with him. In 1995, his freshman year, I'm watching him on TV and winning in the NCAA tournament. So winning a tournament game, which was outstanding. He leaves Old Dominion, still currently top 3 in assists at Old Dominion. At the same time, second all time in the Colonial Conference. So he's still in the record books. Graduated from Old Dominion. And then from there, he goes back to his alma mater, gets a chance to work with Coach Robinson for 2 years in 1998 to 2000. And then he becomes the first head coach at at Forest Park High School, right outside of Woodbridge, in Woodbridge, Virginia, where, for 3 years he ran that program, and built that program from the start. So, that's a tremendous job. And then he gets into the college ranks and he goes and works for a guy that guy I've been knowing most of my life, Lon Brown, and had a chance to work with him at 2 different places. First 7 years at Mount St. Mary's. And so we broke into the business at the same time as college coaches. He was at Mount St. Mary's. I'm at Central Connecticut. Where those guys did a tremendous job of taking the program to a couple of NCAA tournaments. People have no idea, it was history there at Mount St. Mary's, but I think those guys, the staff, did a tremendous job of taking it to another level. And then he goes to Holy Cross, where he spent 5 years there at Holy Cross College, and I still going to ask him, what made those guys. I can tell you what made them go, but they go up to Worcester, Mass, which some cold winters up there. And then at the same time, he goes to Winston-Salem for 1 year, gets the CIAA experience, so the HBCU experience, he's been that. And then in 2016, he became the head coach of Harris-Stowe State University, HBCU. A lot of people probably don't even know that. And he had a chance to become the head coach, did a tremendous job. And I'm not even talking about this year's record. We talk about it, still winning, but, he had won 80-plus games in his first 4 seasons, at Harris-Stowe. So welcome to the show. I've been waiting to get this guy on for a while. A good friend of mine, Brion Dunlap. I mean, we debate to debate. We argue all the time. So welcome to the show, Brion.
Appreciate you having me on here, LB. I've been waiting to get on the show. I've watched what you've been doing from afar, and it's been amazing what you've done so far with the coaches and what you've brought to the table. And you've allowed a lot of people to be able to tell the stories, but not only learning new stories that we hadn't heard within the business, but getting it out there to the public and understand how much of a grind this business is, but also how fun it is and rewarding it is. Not only just because of the kids that we coach and we get to do something we love, but the relationships that we're able to cultivate and be a part of, for sure.
So well spoken there, man. So well spoken. And so I'll say we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna unmask. I'm sure we'll have some stories along the way. But I always ask this question. I love asking it first. I just think it's where you started, because you were a former player and you were good. And so now you probably always were going to be a coach. That's just, it's kind of built in when you're point guards, like Milan, myself, like that was something natural. We probably didn't see it. Everybody wants to be a pro.
Right.
But like everyone else saw it before you did. And it's like, so now you go into college and you've coached at the high school level, you've dealt with some college coaches, but now you're going to work for somebody. There's no handbook in being a college coach. We all know that. Tell me about now, y'all taking over a program too. The first day, first week, first month, that when things are done with human resources and orientation, you'll hit the ground running. Especially like no one gives y'all direction because Milan had been places, but now he's a head coach for the first time. Talk about that.
Well, I'll say this real quick to begin your question. I didn't want to coach. Coach Robinson, my high school coach, actually asked me my senior year. I had coached the fall league team and the summer league team at Woodbridge from here and there when I would come back home for the summer. But I didn't want to coach. Of course, like you said, everybody wanted to play. We always want to go play all the time and get it all out. But I didn't want to coach. And then he called me back after my senior year. He was like, I need a coach. And I was like, Coach, I don't want to coach. He said, well, you can still go work out. And if you get it, and if you want to go overseas, by all means, but just come back. So I remember the first 2 weeks there, I'm just sitting on the side like a manager. And he pulls me over. He goes, I didn't bring you here to sit down. so coach is like a father figure to me. So when he said that, I was kind of like, thought I was in trouble. So from that point on, I just injected myself. And I remember early in that season, he left to go to scout a game, I should say, with air quotes. And he took the other assistant coaches with him. So I had to run practice by myself. So I was kind of like, the coach got me on that one, but that kind of got me into it. So, but to go to the thing when Milan and I was at the Mount, I remember getting a job, and I remember talking to the AD at that time. He was a good guy. He told me, he said, y'all are crazy, right? I said, what you mean? He said, y'all depending on 18 and 23-year-olds to put food on your table. I said, yeah. I said, but we're also giving back too, though. So as much as we crazy in that sense, we trying to help these kids. But after we went through the whole process with the HR and everything, by that time, it was time to get on the road to go recruiting. Like you said, it really wasn't no handbook. It was just like, we got to go get some players. We talked about what areas we were going to hit and try to concentrate on those areas. At the time, I mean, you know how it is. When you're a bottom feeder, everybody thinks they got a player for you that they think that can play at your level, So we had to go out there and try to change the game up a little bit. And we went back to our roots, we went to Northern Virginia, Milan being from the 757, went down into 757, went through Richmond. We just hit Virginia hard, then hit the people that we knew in DC and Maryland as well. And then we tried to stay in that region and just bring as many kids as we can and then work out the kids that we had there currently and just try to make them better. And that was kind of like the focus and how we went about it.
Awesome, man. I do remember that because, that was we played against each other. So I remember those rosters. And then y'all really started dipping into the Carolinas and getting, saying players. So y'all were doing a tremendous job. And you talk about recruiting and it leads into the next question. And I say, like, people don't understand, like, recruiting is a lifeline of college athletics. You got to get good players. You got to get good students. And they don't have to always be A students. They don't even have to be B students. But it got to be a kid who cares about getting an education, how much they value it. And then they have to be a good person, man. And that's what people don't realize. Like, those three things have to go together if you want your program to be successful. Because the minute you start, one of those things are out, they don't click, then you start having issues. Yeah. But talk about one of your best or worst, or best and worst recruiting stories, because I'm sure you had plenty over the years. I know we've had some recruiting battles as well, but like, talk about something like, that's just jumped out, whether it's, you can talk about recruiting in general, or like it may have been certain players that you were involved with. Talk about that.
Well, I'll tell you one off the top. We were, we had one of our top guys. You probably know who this is. I'm just going to say it this way. He played the point guard position. So we had one of our top guys that he was supposed to come on an official visit. right? So I'm recruiting him. I'm talking to him the whole time, telling him about the plans of the visit. This is when your flight leaves. You need to get to the airport at this such and such time. This is in the third. So I couldn't get a hold of moms to let moms know, but I told him, I said, let moms know your flight is at this time on this day, right? So mom and I played phone tag. We couldn't get a hold, but I was relying on him as an 18-year-old to just relay the information. So then we send him the information for the ticket as well. I was like, make sure you give this to your mother. Now, my last thing I said to him was, do you have a ride to get to the airport? So he tells me, Coach, I'm good. I got a ride. Everything's good. My mom got everything situated. Boom, boom, boom. I said, all right, bet. So that morning, I called him just to try to wake him up to make sure, because I knew how he was. So I called him, didn't get an answer. Called him, didn't get an answer. Then I called his mom. Talked to mom. I said, Mom, is he at the airport? Like, is he up? What is he doing? She was like, what do you mean? I said, you know he's coming to visit us this weekend, right? She says, Coach, I know you and I've been playing phone tag, but I knew nothing of this. So the kid misses the flight, right? Because he ain't got no ride. Mom don't know. So then now we got to get him on another flight. And then he ends up coming in later that evening. But, you know, at the time, it was kind of like crazy that we didn't matter. We already had a point guard there at the time, but we was recruiting him anyway. We was like, hey, we'll play him two together. Like, he's too good of a player to pass up. But, you know, and he ended up went down top 5 in school history and a lot of different stats. But, you know, just dealing with his recruitment was something in itself. You know what I mean? And I know you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're not gonna say the names. We're not gonna say the names. I definitely know who you talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because I was listening to you and I'm like, I just remember a kid that we were both recruiting, and I see the kid to this day, and I just remember we thought we had him. He came up to Worcester, Mass. We're in, you know, we're out. I want to say we might have been in like, we definitely was on a 4 country tour. And I just remember getting a call at 3:00 in the morning. That time said, "Yeah, I'm going to Holy Cross," and we were like, "What?"
So look, so check it. So in that situation, y'all are on the tour. I'm on the phone with him and his high school coach, and I think his dad. We were on a 3-way, and they were supposed to have a family dinner with the coach, and they're telling like, Coach, like, it's coming down to you guys and American, and we're going to have the family dinner, and we're going to talk at the dinner, and then we're going to decide then. So I'll never forget. I got off the phone with him. I called Milan. I said, we're gonna get him. They got this dinner, it's done. Like, it's done. Like I said, AU's out of town. They out the country. Like, it's nothing they can do about it. And so sure enough, they had that dinner. After the dinner, he called Milan. Milan called me, and I was like, Lamar, Eddie about to be pissed.
Yeah, we were. That was when we was. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that one. That was a tough one. That was definitely. Yeah. Nah, that was. I mean, that was. But you know what? It was never no love lost. That was.
None.
You know, hey, that's how we were.
Yeah.
And the kid ended up still having a great career. So we're not. I tell him to this day, I never have an ill feels, and no one does, because we're all about the kids. So that's the one thing. Now, look, you're named the head coach, you know, at Harris-Stowe, and you're excited, I'm sure, to have your own program. I mean, that's what it's about. Like, some guys, you know, everybody wants to be a Division I head coach, but when you get your own program, it's a lot different.
Yep.
Like, what happens over the next? Everybody talks about those first 100 days, but like, tell me what happens, man, because you're excited now. Like, what happens over those next 100 days or so?
Well, first things first, the crazy part about it was, so I was announced the head coach like the first week in August, but they wasn't having a press conference and everything until the 15th. So I was kind of working remotely because I was still my family and myself, we were still living in North Carolina. So then at that time, like, we're trying to find, you know, places to live and so on and so forth. So we get this place and we thought it's all good. So we go up probably like a few days early, and we get there and the house isn't ready. Like it's like wasn't clean. Like it was they tried to do the rug and you could tell that when they did it, they didn't open up the windows or do it in enough time. So it was like still damp. So it had like a mildew smell in it. I told the guy, I said, we're not moving here. Like we're not living here. So the first the first three weeks to a month that we're there, we lived in hotels, right? So I'm more worried about that than the job situation. But I got to go to work every day, and then I'm looking at the roster, like, what we gonna do with this roster? Like now, at that point, everybody who had, because in the IA, we at my school we got 3.2 scholarships, so we dealing with real money. So it's different from Division I where we giving out paper scholarships here. You know what I mean? So every dollar and every cent count, and I'm trying to still bring in 2 kids at this point. But I was gonna have to move some money around. So with the AD, he was like, we've already, committed to these kids the amount of money that we were gonna give them, and that's what they're expecting. So, I was kind of like, well, the roster's kind of set until, like I said, until the winter break or whatever. So I'm still starting to recruit, trying to get everything order. NAIA rules, different NCAA. So I'm still learning all the rules, and I'm looking through the rule book just about every single day, about how we can do it, because they have a 24-week period where it's different, where you have, all right, we got preseason, we can do 4 here, groups here, groups there. Now you got 24 weeks, period. So when you start with a basketball teaching moment, that's when your 24 weeks start. So if I wanted to go in the gym that last week in August, first week I was there, and I had a ball and anything was teaching with basketball, then it would start. So then that sometimes so you had to map that out, how your 24 weeks is going to be, how you were going to start your preseason, how you going to do your conditioning. Mainly a lot in the preseason, we just had the guys play pickup, and then, we lifted and we ran hills. I'm a big hills guy, so we ran a lot of hills for our conditioning. But just trying to get all that, because I was a strength coach, I was a conditioning coach. I did it. I wore every hat. So just trying to get all that, and then also trying to get a staff together, because our assistant coach was a part-time position. So you're trying to find somebody that's going to be decent enough that with part-time money, but also hungry enough that want to be a part of something special. So you had to go about that. So, just trying to get the staff together, learn the rules, map out, the preseason going into the season, all those different things, while still trying to recruit and see if I can bring in any guys. So I kind of had like, all right, these hours of the day I'm doing this. These next few hours I'm doing this. These next few hours I'm doing this, and I kind of like broke it down that way so I could at least be very efficient in how I was going to attack my days.
That's awesome. Organization, huge key right there. You learned that a long time ago. So that I know that was huge for you going into that. Now, scout reports, because we all know this. That's a huge thing in this business. When you assistant coach, people have no idea, beyond the amount of time you spend watching film. 7, 8 games or more, like trying to get the calls, the tendencies of the team, and then you're putting in all this work, and you expect we as coaches, like, we think the kids should be same way. They should be retaining this information, but like they got classes going on, they got other stuff in their life going on, and so we have to give them enough information. You can't give them too much, because they're going to circuit out, but you got to give them enough to be successful. And that's where you got to kind of balance that. So when you're teaching them and all of that, like, then you have the head coach, you're giving him information, but then when you give him information, you got to make sure, not only when you're giving him the verbiage, when you say it to the players, you got to make sure you're saying the right thing, because they can construe things the wrong way. It's like you telling coach, guy's 2 for his last 30. He's like, yeah, coach, he's struggling shooting the ball, And if you say, you tell the player like, yo, he's struggling, in their mind, he can't shoot.
He can't shoot.
You got to make sure you say the right word. And if you in a game and the head coach, he hits 2 shots, 2 threes, and you'd have told him he's not, he would like, I thought he couldn't shoot the ball. That's not what I said. So Is it any scout reports, your best and worst scout reports over the years that stood out with you?
My best, one of my best, I would say, would be we played Rob Morris when I was at the Mount. You know, that was kind of like a huge rival for us, just for the battles that we had, and we actually lost the game. We played them in the championship. You know, they beat us basically at the buzzer on a mess up play. The ball just happened to find dude. But anywho, after the game, I remember Levi Franklin, who was the assistant coach there at the time. You know, Levi and I, we're good with each other. And he said to me after the game, he said, "Man, y'all took away everything we did. We couldn't do nothing." And as much as the pain of the loss and to see the pain of the loss on our guys' face, you know, that I took that as almost a pseudo badge of honor because it was my scout one, but also that let me know that the guys were locked in and I was able to get the information to them. And we as a staff were able to get the information to them so they understood it and they were locked in. And for opposing team's coach, you had to think that on the sideline that was going through their head for him to say that at the end, like, damn, we can't run nothing. We can't, you know what I mean? And so, and the game, you know, the game actually showed itself. And it was a very low scoring game. You know, every possession was a fight to get a good shot off, just because both teams were prepared, and it came down to one final shot. So that was good. I wouldn't per se say a bad scout from a team standpoint, but I've had those where I didn't feel like I got the point across to the guys, like you said about when, like, he's not a great shooter, but he can make it. So, you know, we tell him to close out short and homeboy hits a jumper, then he hits another one. And then and then the players looking over like, "Coach, like, what's up? All right, step up a little bit more." But you said he can't shoot. Nah, I ain't say that. I said he's not a great shooter. So, you know, that, like you said, getting the verbiage down with them and understanding that. Like we had a game not too. I remember last year there was a kid on their team. 85% of his shots were threes, right? But at that point, he's only shooting like 23% on the year. He wasn't shooting well. Well, one of the reasons why, he came off an injury. He hadn't been playing a lot. And so he was struggling with his shot. But he's a shooter for them. So the first time we played him, I was like struggling, not shooting well, right? So we closing our hands down. Like nobody's trying to fly at him late, nothing. I'm like, yo, he can shoot the basketball. So then the next game we played him, I changed my wording on the scouting report. I just put shooter and left it as such. That's all. I ain't put nothing else on him, just put shooter. So then we played him differently and the guys respected him differently. So, you know, we had a different game plan against him. So just little adjustments like that, you know what I'm saying? Just learning your guys. And from year to year, it could change. Year to year, it could change. And from scout to scout, it could change depending upon. But the year to year piece is learning your players and how you can say what you need to say to them so they understand it. You know, that's a big piece as well.
You just said it. Simple. Like just one simple thing changes. And like it made, like, it's amazing. Because go back to it, the AD said 18 to 23-year-old kids, man. Like it's you never know what to expect. And I think that's the joy of it sometimes. Yeah. Because they do keep you young. But like they also drive you back crazy too. So, crazy. But you know what I'm saying? So that's the one thing about it. What's the biggest challenge you think you've experienced since you've been in college coaching, whether it's a head or an assistant coach? What's the biggest challenge you think you've experienced?
Biggest challenge is not comparing, right? Not comparing yourself to others, whether it be you feeling like your resume stacks up with theirs or your resume is better than theirs, and they get particular jobs in some places. You wonder like how they get that job, so on and so forth. I think that's been the biggest challenge, just from, you know, more so anything from a competitive standpoint. Like it's no ill will. It's just like you would love, especially you want to grow in the business, and everybody want to try to get to the. If you any type of competitor, you want to try to be the best at your particular area in the field or whatever it may be, whatever job force you in. But you know, just not worrying about if somebody gets this job and you don't get that job, or whatever it may be, it's not comparing. I think that's been the biggest piece for me. And then understanding the business, like it's hard for minority coaches. Like, it's tough out here for us. I'm not gonna lie, and so, to my point of one of the reasons why I was able to, why I decided to take it on, or I was blessed enough, I should say, to get an opportunity to be a head coach. And I took a job on the NAIA level, was I felt I needed to check that box off. I felt as a minority, I needed to check that box off too. So they can't come back and say, well, we're looking for a guy with head coaching experience on a collegiate level, because I had head coaching experience on the high school level. So now you get more details. Say, well, we needed head coach experience on a collegiate level. Well, I got that too, so, it's one of those things that, I just think that from a minority coach's standpoint, like, dealing with the social injustice that goes on in our business as well as going on in society, just dealing with that piece as well. I think that's been a big challenge, and just understanding, like, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. You just got to find a way. Stay connected with your inner circle. Stay connected with your people that you trust in the business, and stay connected with the man upstairs, and it'll all work out for you.
So true, man. Great nuggets, and you said it is. It's always moving the goalposts for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you said it. Like, it's like you. Okay, I was a head coach in high school. All right. Well, no, about college. Well, no, I'm a head coach in college. Then it becomes, well, you wasn't at the Division I level.
Exactly.
Come on, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's always something with us, but it's just amazing. Do you find that there are things about you that people misunderstand? What are they?
Yeah. So, working with Milan, and Milan coached me as well in college. Milan would always say that I'm one of the most competitive people he's ever met in his life, right? And sometimes my competitiveness, and not only that, how I was raised, my mom was like, always stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So sometimes, my lack of a better term of standing for something, people could take that as if I'm being stubborn or strong-headed or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, that's how I was raised. Like, if I believe in this and I'm 10 toes in it and I believe in it, then that's what I'm standing for. And then because I love to compete, I hate losing. You and I, we debate all the time, and it's a competitive love debate, but we get into it, but at the end of the day, like, that's what iron sharpens iron. So I think some of my competitiveness, and then the fact that I'm not afraid to speak my mind when things that I think that are wrong, that should be right, and things that are right, I'm not afraid to speak my mind on it and speak my tongue on it. And people can take that sometimes the wrong way, but that's the most, I guess, the biggest thing on my end.
And I listen, because I know you, so, like, I know how you are. Like I said, that's why I wanted to make sure people understood, like, that competitive side is great, and you just said it, like, and I think we debate each other because we challenge each other, like, we like, no, we come with facts. There ain't no fiction. This is what it's about. So I think a lot of times that's great, that's needed, and because I hate, and I would say not hate, but I don't like when people just throw out random things and don't even come with facts and support. I just think that's a joke sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you're a head coach, you run your own program, and things are a little different there. And I'm just say if you're in another position, now you get a Division I job, because you now you get a job. Let me say you get another job, and it's like, what qualities do you, or did you, or what you will be doing, look for in hiring assistant coaches? Because it's all about getting the right people and great fit. Yours is like, you had to get someone who was in before, but now money can become involved, and you can have a chance to hire who you want or who you can. What qualities do you look for?
Well, the first thing I try to find, which is tough until you cultivate their relationship, is loyalty, right? I'm loyal to a fault sometimes, I know we talked earlier, I was with Milan for 12 years, and for different reasons. Milan was a mentor to me. He was a big brother to me. And he brought me into the coaching business on the collegiate ranks. but he also was my assistant coach when I played for 2 years. So I knew him on a different level. You know, I knew his family. I played against his brothers in AAU and growing up and in college. So, you know, it was different, but my loyalty was always to him. You know, we had talked about if he ever got a head coaching job, this is when he was an assistant, and he ever got a head coaching job, that he would like to bring me along. And I'm in season coaching high school, and I come home. We had lost a tough one. It's like 11:30 at night, and I see on the TV on the news that Coach Phelan was stepping down, and he was going to name Milan his successor. So next morning, Milan calls me and tells me when the press conference is going to be. He's going to be the next head coach. He's like, "What you trying to do?" I said, "I'm coming." You know, it was done. You know, and I stayed with him for 12 years, and I know that I went to a couple other places to interview for assistant jobs, and that was a question that was asked to me by the head coaches, like, why have I stayed with him for so long? And I was like, one, he's a genuinely good dude. I said, two, he's a good coach. I said, three, we have a different relationship. Like that's like a big brother to me. So, and he's my mentor. So I'm learning so much from him a day to day. And the other piece, he allowed me to be a coach, you know? So my loyalty will always be to him. And so I look to try to cultivate those relationships with guys that are loyal, but also try to do, look for guys who may have a strength where I may feel I'm a little weak at, right? So, and then I think too, to be honest with you, sometimes, depending on where you are, you know, that has an effect too of who you can hire, depending on where you are. From a regional standpoint, you may need a guy who's more entrenched in that region. Hopefully you have some type of connection with him that he's going to bring that energy into your program, and to be able to also be able to help, as you say, as you and I talk about, not so much challenge, but help us grow. You know, even as head coaches, we want our assistants to help us grow as well, to be better. We don't want the assistants always feeling like I'm only the one learning from the head coach. No, I want to learn from my assistants just as much as I want to learn from my players. You know, we forever learning. It's forever evolving, the game is. And if you ain't trying to do that, you can't get better. You can't get better. So, I mean, loyalty is a big piece. Guys that are hungry, guys that are passionate about the kids and passionate about the game. You know, then of course the other intangibles. I mean, you got to be able. I don't really say you got to be a recruit. You got to be able to relate to people. That's recruiting to me. Like if I can relate to people and they can feel me being genuine to them and things of that nature, then I believe that's how you're gonna get the kids. You know, and you're gonna not only get the kids, but you're gonna get the families. You know, because they're gonna help you get the kids. So just those are the main things that I look for. But that loyalty, the passion, you know, wanting to help the kids. Because my thing was I got into it because I wanted to get back to the game with the game that blessed me. You know, so I knew if I was doing that for the right reasons, then I was in the business for the right reasons.
Awesome. That's an awesome answer, man. I love that. You know, like the loyalty to passion, and it's still, and that's something, you know, like is what you stand for. So you definitely want to have someone, and like you said, you're always growing in this business, you're always learning. So you do want to have, you don't want anybody just like you, but you want someone that, you know, like you said, where you're strong or where you're weak, they can be a little stronger. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's about. I'm gonna say this: you were head coach on the high school level, but now it's different. You're in college. Mm-hmm. Talk about that first. What was that first practice like? You know, you're at the college level now. First game when you're finally in control of your program. What was that like?
So first practice. To be funny though, the first practice was very similar to my first practice in high school as a high school head coach. As a high school head coach in practice, I felt I was more prepared to be a college head coach because I coached in high school. I was the first coach, as you said, at Forest Park. We had 3 teams, freshman, JV, and varsity. I'm overseeing basically 40 to 45 guys. As opposed to when I got to college, I'm overseeing 13, right? But also the time that I spent with Milan, you know, he allowed me, like I say, he allowed me to be a coach. So I felt that I was ready. But my first coaching practice in high school, I was solo. I didn't have no assistants at the time. My first coaching practice in college, I was solo. I didn't have no assistants at the time. So then And I did have an assistant, but he couldn't be there that particular day. So it was very similar. It had a lot of deja vu in it. But we went and did it. We did a lot of breakdown stuff. And then, we were able, I like to play a lot. So, because for me, it helps me, and me personally, I feel like it helps the guys when they're able to play, because they get to see each other's strengths and weaknesses. So we did some playing because I was by myself. But, we had a couple team workouts prior to that. So they kind of had a good view, because we tried to do in the team workout some of the stuff we were going to do in the first day of practice. So when I was able to throw out the verbiage of we doing this drill, we doing that drill, whatever, then we were able to, it was snapping and it was efficient for us to get to it. So it wasn't that, I say that was probably the one difference, because we was able to have those team practices before. So it wasn't as solo as it was when I was coaching in high school. But it was surreal though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm just sitting there, like, going into practice. I'm typing up the practice plan, and I'm walking in there. I'm like, I'm a college head coach. That's when it kind of hit me though, for real. That's when it hit me, and like I was just cheesing from ear to ear, man. And then we got into it, and then that was that. Like, and then after that, it was like riding a bike. It was like riding a bike.
How was that first game, man? Now, like, you, like, it's hey, it means something now. It's on the record.
So first game is, so with us, because we don't have football. So first game was, and we played early. It was the third weekend in it was the last weekend in October, and it's homecoming. So we're the culmination of homecoming, our game. And we play right after the women. We're playing team, they were preseason number 10 in the country. And that's first game of the year. I'm like, I have no idea really what we get. We got a freshman point guard starting. We had 4 guys that couldn't play at the second semester. All right. Of those 4, 2 of them, were starters, but 3 of the 4 were really going to be in getting minutes. Right. They were going to be in the rotation. So I got a freshman at the point. Our backup point guard, he's playing the 2. The kid who's he's an undersized 4 is at the 3. And then we got a 5-man who started for us all year long, and then a 4-man who was a backup undersized post as well. So, and then we're playing the number 10 team in the country, homecoming, all this other stuff. So we end up winning the game. And it was crazy, because it's homecoming, it's packed, everybody's there, So first college game, atmosphere was crazy. I was so locked into the game and lost in the game that nothing around me, I knew nothing around me until the game was over. And it was good because the guys were able to win the game. So, that would be a memory I'll never forget. But it was surreal. Yeah, it was a big deal, and it was so much fun though. Like, it was like I knew. I always say this to people: until I coached my first high school game and my first coaching college game on collegiate level, like, I didn't realize how tired I could be. Like I could play a 40-minute game as a player and be good to go. After the game, be ready to go out. Man, we won that first game. And we played at 3:00 in the afternoon. We won that first game. By everything's over. By the time I got home, probably around like 7:30, I was out. I went to bed. I was done. But yeah, it was a big thing. It was a big thing.
Awesome. Now we talk about this, man, because people don't understand like how much you sacrifice, and you have your family. You don't get those times. You don't get you was right into coaching, you was high school, but you go to college, it's you don't get to go to your teammates' weddings, mm-hmm. or like those trips they going on and hang out. Sometimes you miss their weddings. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's so much stuff that you miss. You don't get, Christmas Day, you play on the 22nd, but you back in school on the 26th. So you get to miss a lot of family time, and you got 3 kids. So like they're growing up and all of that. But what did you have to sacrifice to achieve your current level of success?
Well, the main thing was, just missing out, like you said, in those moments of my kids' growth, whether it be, concerts or dance recitals, football, basketball games with my son, just seeing my kids grow up, that's the biggest piece that I've missed, from a family standpoint, not being able to go to family reunions, shortened breaks, as you say, with Christmas and Thanksgiving, practicing on Thanksgiving, playing on Thanksgiving, and just missing those moments. I think those are the biggest pieces. And then, even with former players, when they've gotten married or they've had their first child or whatever it may be, great to get those texts for sure. You know what I mean? Like that's love right there. But you also would have liked to have been there if you could, to enjoy those moments with them, because of the amount of time that you spent together over the course of their college or high school careers. But and then just missing out too. I'm blessed that my parents are still alive and not have an opportunity to see my mom as much, and I have a younger brother and not seeing his growth as much. But I mean, they we know that they're there supporting us 100%. I mean, because that in a way it doesn't make it any easier, but we know that we're making these sacrifices and know that they're supporting us and they're behind us. So that kind of helps lessen the blow of it a little bit.
Yeah, that is important. Like that, knowing that there's is even better. This is kind of entertaining and maybe something funny, maybe not. I don't know. But what is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court, like through your whole career, that you've been like, I can't believe this kid did this, or like it's just something that stood out and you just like, wow, I can't believe it.
Oh boy, there's a lot of them. I'm trying to see which PG ones I can say. That's a good question. The strangest thing they've done outside. Dang. I don't know. I had to think about that
You can
for a
think
little
on
bit.
it. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Let's think about it as we're going. Because I'm gonna ask you this, and I don't think I asked you this, and I like asking this. We're educators by nature, and I say that because we're learning, but we're also teaching basketball. The court is our classroom. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. But like, what do you try to teach your players besides basketball? Like, I mean, things off the court. What do you try to teach them?
Well, the main thing I teach them, I just try to talk to them so much about life, right? So, and actually culturing themselves. Like, don't stay in your box. Like, I don't care if you from a rural area, you from the suburbs, you from an inner city. Don't stay in your box because that's what you comfortable doing, right? Because in this thing of life, we're gonna walk across and we're gonna meet so many different people that don't come from the same place we come from, didn't grow up like how we grew up. So you got to be able to take pride in trying to culture yourself, so then you could fit in any circle, any realm. Goes back to like we were saying about checking all the boxes. Well, I can go to a black tie event. I can go to the club. I can go in this history class and talk about this. I can go in this job. I can go to Wells Fargo at this place and try to get this type job. So don't put yourself in the box where you feeling like this is my only lane that I got to stay in. Nah, you so much more talented at that. And the reason being, you can go on a basketball court in between those lines and play against all different walks of life, right? And you got all different people watching you in the stands. So you interviewing every day that you in between them lines. Anytime you got a game and people can see you play, you on an interview. So take heed to that and know that I'm gonna culture myself each and every day. Like, just a simple of, saying thank you. You're welcome. Having your manners. Like, just we do a lot of that. And of course, we joke with the guys and stuff like that. But that's a big thing for me, just from a respect standpoint. Just like, we are, as coaches, we are another piece of the village that is helping you grow from being young adults to young men when you walk out of here in the real world. So if we're not teaching those same principles that your parents may have instilled in you, or some of your grandparents or whomever, then we're not helping in the process, in my belief. So I try to make sure that my guys that I've always have been able to reach and been able to coach, that try to talk about just culturing yourself and just not putting your own obstacles and hurdles in front of yourself, and understand you got a whole perspective and a whole bunch of different things that you can kind of avenues you can kind of go, as long as you don't put yourself in a box.
Awesome, man. There's more jewels you drop. Like, what's your favorite word or phrase that you like to use?
In the court, on the court?
Yeah, on the court. Yeah.
A favorite one is, I had this one with the team the past 4 years. I'd be like, let's eat. Like, so let's eat. Everybody, let's eat. And that's something that I know we've heard it said in different ways, but that was kind of like my way of getting them to understand that everybody's part is important, right? Everybody's part is important. And as we know, we want our team to be as balanced as we possibly can make it, but it's not an equal opportunity situation. Like, if your job ain't to shoot the ball, don't shoot it. Don't shoot that shot. Shoot your shot, right? So let's eat. So everybody, let's go out there and let's eat. We talk about that. And one thing I used to always say, though, I don't want to be good. I want to be great. Right. And I used to tell my guys that too. And that was something that they would say, like, we don't want to be good. We want to be great. Like, that's the thing. And then the one other thing that we've talked about was, leaving your mark, right? Leaving your legacy. If you're blessed enough to work hard enough and we prepare hard enough and well enough to put banners up, they can't take that away from you. You know what I mean? They can't take that away from you. So, and being a champion is a lifestyle. It's not just having a trophy. It's a lifestyle. You got to be a champion every day, and how you go about your day-to-day business. And that will put you in the right steps to afford you a championship. Does that mean you're going to get one? No, but it's still a lifestyle where you're going to be successful from here on out.
Man, you're dropping some nuggets over here, man. I love it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? I heard you say something earlier. I don't know if that was one of them, but what's the best piece of advice you ever been given?
Well, one of them was, like my mom said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's one of the things that I kind of live by and go with all the time. That was probably the biggest piece. And I once had a little league coach. I was probably 9, maybe 10 years old, and we was playing in this league. And I remember he pulled me over to the side because one time I was making these passes and the kids on my team, they couldn't catch it. We had this one guy who was kind of he hit his little growth spurt early, so he was taller than a bunch of people. So we trying to feed him into the post. And he told me, he was like, listen, he said, keep bigs high. I was like, what? He was like, keep him high. He's like, if he's got somebody that's smaller than him on him, don't throw him no bounce pass in the post. He said, keep him high. He said, because now he got to come down to get it. And I said, well, what if you don't catch it there? He said, well, throw it at his nose. I said, coach, if I hit him in his nose, he said, exactly. He going to put his hands up or he going to keep getting hit in the nose. So so I learned that at 9, 10 years old. So that's when I had Big O, it was easy to feed him. You know what I mean? So but yeah, so that was one that sticks out for sure in the back of my head. And then Milan once said to me one time, he was like, and this is more so because I grew up kind of really single parent home, but he was like, you gotta get that hate out your heart, man. You gotta get that hate out your heart. And it wasn't so much it was more from a competitive standpoint that it would drive me all the time and then sometimes it was like, it's not that he wanted me to turn it off, but it was just like, You just can't. When I would lose, I would hold grudges. If especially if I ain't know you. Like if we lost to y'all, it wouldn't be fine, but it would be fine because y'all my peoples. But if I lost somebody else, like no, I'm like forget y'all, I'm holding grudges. He'd be like, you gotta get that hate out your heart, man. And so it was a joke in a way, but I understood where he was coming from when he would say that stuff to me.
That's some good stuff right there. I'm gonna ask you this: what does success mean to you? Because so many people define it always about wins and losses and all this stuff. But like, what does success mean to you?
So it's funny you say that because this is something that we talk to our players about, and I would talk to my players about, and I would tell them from the outside, the wins and losses is what equates to success. I said, but in here, success is me seeing you grow, right? Seeing you grow from whether it be a freshman to a sophomore, junior, senior, so on and so forth, senior to graduate. As long as I know and feel that you're becoming a better person each and every day, I feel like that's success. Like if we can be better one day to the next, then that's successful. And you can continue to stack those days up, then you're gonna have success at the end. And seeing our guys being able to graduate, seeing guys when like I said to you earlier, when guys reach out and say, Coach, I'm about to get married, or Coach, I'm about to have my first child, or Coach, I just got my master's in this, or Coach, I just signed this contract. Like that is success to me when they're able to come back to you and when they're able to call you or text you and let you know what's going on in their day-to-day lives, even when you're not coaching them anymore. That's success in my book.
That's good stuff right there. I mean, that's what, because everyone temporarily like, well, they say, oh, like you got to have this amount of wins. No, it's not always about that. The one thing I know about you, Brion, you've never been a self-promoter. I think you let your work speak for itself. You've always, like I use the word professional because that's where you are. I've seen you, somebody you just watch to get their job done. And you do it the way you do it and you're successful. I would say if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, what would you choose?
First one would be humble. I feel like I'm a humble person. I feel like I've encountered some different things, as we all have, but that has humbled me. The second one I probably would be the word we use. I'm competitive. I'm just uber competitive. Like I just love to compete. And the third one, biggest thing that I would use is coachable. I feel that was one of my biggest attributes learning when I was a youngster. Just listening. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that my mother was in education. So education was a huge thing in my household. But in order to be educated, you got to understand, comprehend, and apply, right? So in order to do that, you got to be coachable. Like you got to be willing to understand that you don't know it all, willing to ask questions and learn the information, so then I can give it back, and then I can also teach it to others. So those are the 3 things I say: humble, competitiveness, and being coachable. Those are the 3 things I would probably say best describes me.
3 great ones too. And my next question is like, and I've heard it, and now you get this probably explain a little bit more because I've heard it a couple of times, and it's been a good thing. Like, what person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
Well, first and foremost, my mom. She's my rock. She's been there and always been there. She's gonna tell me the truth every single time. I got a Southern mom. I know we talked about being from the South last night. I got a Southern mom. She was a cheerleader in college. She was an A student. She was education. Like, she grew up with 3 brothers, and she was the only girl. So she was strong, and she's been a huge influence in my life. My high school coach, Coach Will Robinson, he was like a father figure to me. He taught me so much, and I felt that I was so prepared when I went to college. That's why I feel like I was able to step in from day one and be the starting point guard at Old Dominion, just because of how he prepared me, but not only on the basketball court, but just the different talks that we had. Because I was his office aide for a year. So I get to not only get to be with him on the court, but I get to be with him in his office, and we just talking about life, and talk about basketball. Another person influenced me was my high school football coach, Coach Ron Davis. He as a football coach, he never cursed ever. And then I was fortunate enough that in high school I played for two Black coaches. Both of my coaches were Black, and not really having, my father in my life was big for me to have those type of mentors and see somebody that looked like me to be in these positions, to be able to teach us and then learn and grow from. And then, and then I was recruited to Old Dominion to play for Coach Purnell, but then I ended up playing with Coach Capel. And at times Coach Capel and I, we butted heads, but I learned a lot from him. He taught us how to be men. That was the one thing I know for a fact that, rest in peace, Coach Capel, but he taught us how to be men, and he taught us his way. And some people couldn't take it. Some people could, but, we were successful, and he helped us grow as young adults to be young men, for sure.
Well,
and then I also say Milan. Milan was a huge piece and has been a huge piece in my life. Just from the coaching standpoint, not only from that, but just being a good dude. Like I said before, like Milan's just, and he was a really good dude. And one thing I'll say too, I'll go back, rest in peace, Milan's dad, Coach Charlie Brown. You talk about one thing that was said to me that I don't forget. He said to me, Brion, everybody wants discipline. It's just a matter of who's going to give it to them. And that's something that's always resonated with me and stuck with me forever.
That's some good stuff. I mean, Mr. Brown was a big time man. I mean, and Milan, my dad lived in the same neighborhood as Milan and them. So, it was interesting because my freshman year, I had enrolled at Kickertan. That was the school I was supposed to go to. And it was like, and I ended up not going at the end of the day. Both Milan and I graduated the same year. So, one of his closest friends, right around the block from each other. So, knowing Mr. Brown, like you said, rest in peace to him, a great man. And, it's just interesting. I'm going to go to this question. I hope you thought about it a little bit. Like, what's the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court? Before we get even to the last question, go ahead.
Oh man, I was thinking about it. Like I said, trying to keep it PG.
As long as you don't drop names, you can. We don't have to drop a name, but the stories, it might be something that's funny.
I'm not gonna drop names, but we had a situation. It ain't really funny, but it was kind of like it was one of those things like, why would you do that, right? So our dudes had gotten into it, with some haters, whatever. They were at a party, and some haters had tried to get into a couple of our guys, and there was some pushing and shoving going on, so on and so forth. Well, this particular teammate, he wasn't at the dance party with them. He wasn't, so he was out. Somebody called him. They say, yo, like the team, they getting into with these dudes, like, where you at? This and this. So he comes, but he's Johnny come lately, right? So now by the time he gets there, everything is died down. It's squashed, everything is diffused. So he comes up there like he Nino Brown right now. Like, what's going on? This, and the third. Like, and so the public safety at the time was like, we have everything under control, right? So he's like flying off out the handle, like, and just stirs the whole thing up. So the one of the guys in public safety, I think, tried to like grab him and like hold him down. And then he's like trying to break through, and it just excites a thing all over again. Like, luckily it didn't get any worse than that, but they had to throw him down to the ground. I'm like, dude. So when I talked to him the next, I said, why would you do that? Like what was your point of going over there? Like, nobody was beefing anymore. Everybody's chilling. You come in there and you just stir everything up. Coach, I ain't know it. I ain't know what to sing. I said, exactly. You didn't know. So your butt should have just not even done anything. But he did that. Like, and we were so upset with him. I was like, dude. And then so he ended up having to be, he got disciplined for that. Just because he started, when he got thrown to the ground, whatever, he's wrestling with the public safety guy, and the guy thought he hit him and he didn't, but he was just trying to get his balance. But it was a mess. Like, there was no reason for him to go there, first off. Secondly, there was no reason for him to go there thinking like he's Superman. So that was just crazy, dealing with that piece. It's like you said, it's like, why would you even, like, what made you think like you needed to do that? Like, you can't, first off, you 30 minutes late. First off, you wasn't even there. Secondly, you 30 minutes late to the show and everything is done. It's all dead. And then you just gonna make it worse. But we laugh about it now because it was just so dumb. But we laugh about it now. But yeah.
Why would you do that? I like that. I'm gonna ask this question because I would be remiss before I ask the last one, but because just the recent losses of John Thompson and John Chaney, and you've had some. I mean, Will Robinson is, people, if you don't know, like, one of the best high school coaches in the country, like, not just like in this area, but like he was in Woodbridge, and we actually coached against him. This was when, you may have been there. Nick Clay was there then.
So I was gone, but I know I was gone the year before. But yeah, Clay was there. Yep.
Yeah, so we played them and we ended up losing. This was my first year. So you know what? You wouldn't have finished because it was 97, 98. You hadn't graduated yet.
Yeah.
So Nick Clay, and then he went down to Charlotte Advanced. He was, tremendous down there. So I mean, I got to ask this just because you've been around. I mean, Jeff Capel, he was, outstanding coach. So you've been around some good Milan. I mean, but like, if you had a chance to sit down, have lunch, 3-4 hours, pick 3 or 4 guys that you say, man, I want to sit down, pick their brain. What makes them tick? Like, what pushes them to be successful? What 3 or 4 guys you would like want to sit down and just talk with? It could be past or present.
Yeah.
Just to be like.
So I will eliminate the ones that I've had the opportunity to with Milan and Coach Rob and Coach Cable. I will eliminate those. But as you say that, Coach Thompson for sure, Coach John Thompson, and also Dean Smith. I'm a big Carolina guy. Real quick before I go to the other two, real quick story about Dean Smith. So I went to Carolina camp when I was younger, and you would always have an opportunity to take a picture with Coach Smith at the end of the camp. But if you got some type of an award in your particular camp setting, whether it be MVP or I forgot what other awards were, then you got a second picture you were able to take with them, right? So we were playing Carolina my freshman year when I'm at ODU. And we played them at the Scope because they had Ed Geff, and it was, Carolina like to bring the dudes back home. So we playing at the Scope, and we ended up losing. It's like a 2-point game. It's a tie game, as a matter of fact, with like 6 to go. They ended up winning down the stretch. So anyhow, after walking through the line, they say Coach Smith always had the memory of an elephant. He remember everything. So we walking through the line and we were shaking hands. He goes, "You went to Carolina camp, didn't you?" And man, as a Carolina fan, because I was born in North Carolina, I was born there. So as a Carolina fan, and having him say that, like, it was the best thing, and I would just love to sit down and have a talk with, like I said, him, Coach Thompson, for sure. Another person that I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and talk with, but I've been able to converse with from time to time is Konzo Martin in Mizzou. Just to listen to him speak. I've been at a couple clinics where he's taught, and just when we've had opportunities to connect, like, to me, he's a really good dude, man, and really, really, really good dude. And when he talks, I can feel, his energy and his presence. So just to have an opportunity to sit down and chop it up with him will be something as well. Um, those three definitely come to mind. Um, and you know, shoot, that's probably the top three right now. You know, Coach Thompson, Coach Smith, and Konzo just have an opportunity to sit in this, you know, break bread with them and chop it up and have a talk with them. You know, you got different eras, of course, for sure. You know, how what Coach Thompson did. I have a picture with myself and two of my really good friends that I grew up with. We were at the Capitol Classic. I'll never forget. We had the Capitol Classic. Um, I believe it was '89 when Kurt Smith and Kenny Anderson was in there together, right? So we're in the Capitol Class, and I got the picture, and Coach Thompson sitting like on the aisle seat, and we were at this point, I'm probably like 12, 13. So we kind of afraid to go up to him and talk to him. Can we have a picture? So we're like standing beside him on the aisle, and my boy Hollis, his dad, takes the picture of us. So it's like we're all lined up, and Coach Thompson's like looking in our direction, and we was like, we got a picture with Coach Thompson. So you know that was kind of like a thing that we tried to do because we was all afraid to ask him because you know Coach Thompson he was an imposing force, man. Like his stature alone, kind of like dude, I gotta make sure I approach this right. But yeah, so I would say those three for sure. Those three for sure.
Those are three good ones, and he is a huge guy. I mean, people don't realize how big he is. But then, like, you said Kwanzaa. One word I describe with him: powerful. Mm-hmm. Like when he talks, it's like it's a sermon every time. Yes. But yes. Like, and you know what? We always joke and we say stuff. We're like, it's like in the scene and Coming to America when they're passing the plate. Yeah. You're dropping everything because he's deliberate. And you like, man, you didn't even get enough. You want more. And like, and it's always like he comes in and it's like he gives you everything you want, but you like, man, like, can we get more? And but I just use one word for him: powerful, man. Yep. I'm gonna ask this, and I'm gonna end on this question. Like, knowing what you know now, you know, like you were a long-time assistant, but like, what would you tell your younger self to prepare for as a head coach?
To prepare for as a head coach, younger self, I would tell my younger self to you got to grind for sure, but like take more time to cultivate more relationships in the business. You know, it's a grind already as it is, right? So you know you're gonna grind, but take time out to cultivate those relationships and take time out to when you get the opportunity to spend more time with your family. You know, if it's afforded to you, then do those things along the way. Yes, you're still gonna make sacrifice. You're still gonna miss some things here and there, but just understand, like, you know, take this 30 minutes right here instead of watching 30 more minutes of film. Take this 30 minutes and go spend 30 more minutes with your family, or go take this 30 minutes and spend 30 more minutes of trying to network within the business so you get to know people. I say that's probably the biggest thing that I would say to my younger self. Yes, you're going to be passionate about it. You're going to be gung-ho about it, and you want to make sure you're doing this, doing that. But, you know, as the saying goes, study long, study wrong, you know. I mean, you gonna watch enough film and you're gonna see enough that if your eyes ain't gonna deceive you. So, you know, it's one thing to sit there for a test for 2 hours and study for a test. That don't mean you retaining the information. You know, so learn how to do it in your way so you can still cultivate those relationships and have time when you have time available to spend time with your loved ones when it's afforded to you.
That was great stuff, and I think that the pandemic has taught us to do that. Like, you don't have to work as hard. I mean, you know, like you said, like, I mean, you talking about, we thinking like, yo, you got to be in the office this amount of hours. You got to be like, you can still get in the, I mean, Speedy Claxton used to talk about this all the time. I could get stuff done. Like, I could be on the beach, make calls, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could be laying by the pool and doing that. But like coaches, the you know, I always say the older coaches, like the way that they used to do it, oh, you got to be in the office from 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, no, you don't. That's the old way. Things have evolved now. You use that word early. Like,
but it's like we talk about as coaches, though. We want our players to be efficient, right? we need to make our work efficient as well. Like I'm a firm believer in efficiency. I talk to my guys about that all the time, about just making sure when we come in here to the gym or we're in the weight room or condition or you're in the classroom, you're studying, whatever it may be, make your time efficient. Like be efficient with your time, because just because you doing it don't mean you doing it. You know what I mean? Like you in there for umpteen amounts of hours don't mean you getting the work done. Be efficient about how you going about it so you get it done properly. That's the main thing. I mean, shoot, do we want somebody shooting the three to shooting 21% or shooting 41%? Like, right? Be efficient in how you going about doing it. So
yeah, so true, man. And I was laughing when you said that. I'm like, you remember those 3.5 hour practices? Like, can we get the same thing done now in like 2 hours and 15 minutes? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's just, that was kind of the old way of thinking. And I mean, I understand it, but like it's different. And then the first thing that people say is, oh, these people soft now. Like, no, it's called, and I say it all the time. The difference of these kids now, like we were told this, Brianna, you know it. I want you to run through that wall. We're trying to figure out how to run through the wall. Where the kids today, they're like, why can't we just climb over top or go around it? Like, that's not soft. It's like they're thinking a little bit more, better than what we thought. We thought, run through the wall. Oh, that's how it is. So I kind of laugh. I mean, yeah, everyone thinks that's the soft way, but like, no, things have evolved. And like, we're wondering why younger kids are getting smarter every day because they figure out things on their own. Whereas like, we were almost told, this is what you do. There's no questions asked. And like, we weren't taught to think on our own. These kids are learning on their own now. And you got young ones, so you know how that is. Like, they're probably asking you why at times. Like, why? Why, Daddy? You like, you want to say, because I told you so.
Well, I say that from time to time too. And then I'll say, well, figure it out. You know what I mean? So I do it both ways.
There you go. Well, look, man, I want to thank you again, man, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything you want to leave with the viewers before we go?
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate my time, and I love it when you and I have opportunities to talk. People. It was like I said, I was funny last night. I didn't chime in too much, but when they were talking about the stats and throwing things out there, and you and I I remember being at down in Myrtle Beach. We sitting there and behind the basket, and we watching the game. We were really watching the game. Me and you we just throwing stats at each other back and forth. I think we might have done top 5 UVA versus Carolina teams. You know what I mean? So that brought up a lot of memories. But the main thing is what you're doing, I think is great. During this time of the pandemic, like I said, finding different ways of connecting and staying connected is the biggest thing. For me personally, I'm trying to continue to grow my network and continue to try to build relationships with people. I think that's the biggest piece going forward. Just supporting one another. And I love what you've been doing, and this is a great platform to get the word out and have coaches be able to, for lack of a better term, let their hair down a little bit, but still stay professional and understand we can get our stories out here in different ways. And I appreciate you for allowing me to come on here and tell my story as well.
Thank you, man. You're welcome, man. And like I said, I always wanted to make sure, we talked about it, shows from here and there, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely getting you on. So I appreciate that. And I want to thank you viewers for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time and stay safe.